This is a Puch E50 engine. They are pretty commonplace. These were found in a large variety of Puch mopeds. This one is fairly hurt. It was under-oiled, which killed the crank rod bearing. So I'm going to take it apart and rebuild it. I've got some parts here and the vaguest idea of what I'm doing. So I guess we'll get started. I drained the transmission fluid already. These have a single gear reduction. There was a fairly alarming amount of metal flake in there, so I'm sure that'll be fun once I actually get into there. I'm going to guess it was run without fluid in it before I got it, because when I pulled the drain plug, when I first got this thing, basically nothing came out. Because I took the cover off to replace the clutch actuating mechanism. Not entirely sure why I'm starting off with the flywheel cover, but here we are. I think the way I'm going to attack this is by first pulling the flywheel, which I actually have a tool for, because I know I'm going to have to take the timing plate off, crack this whole case in half. Let's see, how's this do? Something like that, I'd imagine. Looks like we've got, is that a 13? No. Oh well, I'll take this cover off first. Seems more attainable. Posi drive. These are not Phillips, nor are they JIS. This is an Austrian creation. Therefore, things are even stranger than I'm used to. Gross. This gasket is intact, but I don't have a whole lot of hope that that still seals. I'm not entirely sure how this clutch basket comes apart, so I will be ignoring it for now. Cool. It's a 19. There's one flywheel. Nifty. Both ignition and light coils. Here is the capacitor for the condenser capacitor. And you can see there's an eccentric, and that's what there's varying thicknesses here, which makes it an eccentric effectively. And that's what actuates our points ignition. So now the ignition plate needs to come off, which I believe are the same two flathead screws that we used to adjust it in the first place. At this point also, I think we'll have to depin the connector for all this. I do have a new light coil. I'm somewhat unsure of where it goes in here. I assume that if I follow the correct wire colors, I'll be able to figure that out. This is a 12-volt lighting coil. I believe there is both a lighting coil, let's see, goodness. I believe these small thinly wound ones are ignition coils. So those create the pulse that goes into the condenser and through the points and to the ignition coil itself. And this is, I see the colors coming in there to the lighting coil, which is just a 6 volt coil here, 12 volt in this case. I don't think at this juncture the clutch necessarily has to come off. I think I can start removing case screws. I was distracted for multiple days, but I'm back now. And I have some motivation juice. Now I have to figure out where I left off on this. Was I going to take the clutch off, or was I going to split the case? I don't actually remember. Let's take a look at the clutch. I got this sort of circular wire spring that needs to come out. It's like a inverse snap ring. And then I believe something happens. Ah, that's what. Little cap. Ah, a nut. Yeah, so we take the nut off, and then I actually bought the clutch removal tool, which we will use to remove the clutch with the clutch removal tool. How about that? First, I need to get this off. I'm assuming that an impact will be required here. You can see here the clutch friction discs. This is the pressure plate, which does technically make this a manual 1-speed transmission, which is bizarre, but there you go. And then in here we have the centrifugal clutch, which also is technically manual because it's modulated by your throttle inputs. And there's a lot of glitter. 17. How about that? No real reason why I can't do this number again. Let's see. Spread the load out. I'm sure this is definitely not the approved method, but it works. How am I going to tighten that again? I don't know. Can't wait to find out. Whew! So here we have the centrifugal clutch itself. Sits in there like this, spins around. This is connected to the output shaft here. This is the crank. It looks to be in pretty good shape. Honestly, this clutch looks quite good as well. As it spins around, there's pivots here, and these are pulled outward by centripetal force. Sorry, centripetal force pulls them out against these springs. For some reason I bought 3 springs. I only need 2. These are upgraded springs. Should help with takeoff. Looks like I put these in by removing these threaded in grub screws. There we go. Grub screws. Change out the springs, but I'll do that later. For now, I will set aside the clutch here. And what do we got going here? Looks like we got a key. Circlip. Where have my circlip pliers gone? I absolutely despise circlips. Ha! Ha ha! So, all together. Neat. Up, and then a bushing. And there we have the gear for the final drive. And And all of this is wet and bathed in oil. I believe the next step is to blow the case open. And for that, I bought an impact wrench, but I will only be using the bits because I hate using these impact handles. We're just gonna do this M12 style, or M18 style. These things are in here. Goodness. Actually, before I do split this, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this or not, but I might as well. Gains to be made here. Can't find a paint pen, so a Sharpie will have to do. So in theory, what that was showing when I put my aerosol here, it has these transfer ports, and for better fluid flow, you want those transfer ports to match with the ports on the block. And as you can see, the ports on the block here are quite sad. So what I'll want to do is take a die grinder or similar and remove material so that the ports match with the kit that I'm putting on. This process is creatively named port matching because it makes the ports match. So now I have to figure out the best way to drive these apart without marring the sealing surface. I guess the method of case separation is just to grab your favorite non-marring implement and hit it on the stator side, since it's not sealing anything. Hey! Where'd that fall? There we go. Let's break down what we're looking at. This side we've got the final drive, which despite all of the crusty metals, actually looks okay. Ooh, it was the bearings. Those bearings feel terrible. Wow. That's bad. That doesn't spin very well at all. So luckily we've got new bearings for that. Then here in the combustion area we have grass, which, you know, that's ideal. And then over here, the crank side, not a lot to see. We got our crankshaft. We got our combustion chamber. I'm not entirely sure what all I'm looking at. Little port here, very full of carbon. Port here, the match is over here. Yeah, I don't quite know enough about two-strokes. I think these guys might need to go take a bit of a dunk in a parts washer, aka my dishwashing machine. There! So I don't think I need anything else. Oh, there's a spacer. Clutch side, spacer. And a snap ring holding the bearing, which has this big ol' snap ring fin thing on it. And over here we just have, whew, that seal is, that seal was not in good shape. These bearings were okay. Ooh, I take it back. These bearings were iffy at best. Damn it! So these cases weigh nothing. So the cases are gonna go off to be cleaned. Oh shoot, I still have to get this out of here. There we go. Okay, we got another completely perished seal. Oh, and a snap ring. Heaven forbid we have too many of those. Okay, snap ring. Another completely perished seal. So that's probably why this thing was so down on power. These seals do more than just keep fluids in. They also keep combustion gases in and from blowing all over the place. Ooh yeah, that is a nasty feeling bearing. And unfortunately, we're going to have to pull these off of here using probably a 3-jaw puller, hopefully, with any luck. Oh man. This one's actually a little bit better, but the final drive does kind of take a beating on these. Okay, it is reassembly time. Got these bearings put onto the crank, the seal, the bearing, the other bearing. That just drops right in here. Pretty straightforward. Final drive as well. That just drops in here. It got a little bit surface rusty. I don't think that's an issue. I forgot there is this ring that goes there. And that goes in this direction. I read that it's important that you leave a gap between the seal and this bearing so that it is able to get oil. It gets its oil through this passage here. I don't know how well the camera can see that, but you can see the shadow of a passage here, and that's what kind of forces some air or some oil fuel mixture back onto that bearing to keep it lubricated. Oh, this also needs a seal. Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? And these go with the metal part facing in. That one I also think wants a little bit of room. Okay. So next up, I think I want to start putting our clutch back together. Okay, yeah, snap ring, then washer. That's it. Oh. Nope, guess not. Goes... Sorry, I haven't been talking much. I got the stack figured out for the clutch basket. Now I'm doing the centrifugal clutch springs. I'm replacing with these blue ones, which are significantly stiffer. Just drop it in, Stick in the grub screw. Turn it down to flush. I'd call that flush. And the further you turn it in, the more resistance there will be to the shoes flying out and the higher the clutch will engage. This, I think, will be torquey enough that flush should work fine. Okay, yeah, no other washer. That all looks right to me. I don't know, y'all. Don't let me forget to torque that later. I'm kind of tempted to put the piston on right now just because this is as accessible as this stuff will ever be. Quite a bit of tolerance with those needle bearings. Well, I've undone that, so now I have to do the piston. There it is. Gosh, it just weighs nothing. Okay, let's see. So, how am I looking at the case right now? This is the bottom. This is the top of the case. Let's see. The arrow points down, so this goes on this way. Sure, that's fine. Here is my wrist pin. There we have it. I'm not entirely sure how, but out of all the stuff that I have, somehow I don't just have a normal set of needle nose. It's all goofiness like this. Let's see, is it head studs time and cylinder loosely mounted, or do I put the other case half on now? Seals, bearings, good. Snap rings where they should be. I think the only thing I have left here is to blow out any additional debris and pre-lube these bearings. So basically I'm going to slather this and this in ATF because this half of the case is ATF bathed. This one will also be ATF. This one will be 2-stroke premix oil, and I'll also slather all of this in 2-stroke oil. And then this will be ready for the case to go together. Unfortunately, I'm going to need to go to the store to get a sealant for the 2 case halves. So looks like this is going to be probably as far as I get until tomorrow, which is unfortunate. I think we've reached a pivotal moment. I've pre-lubed everything. 2-stroke oil here, ATF here. The 2 halves are clean. My mating surfaces are cleaned up. I'm going to be using Permatex Moto Seal here because this has to be fuel resistant as well as oil resistant. It even says ideal for case halves. So this is the go-to, and O'Reilly's has it in stock even, so instant gratification. I'm going to do a thin layer on this side and then make the 2 case halves. Let it sit overnight before torquing it tomorrow. I'm just going to use stock screws. I might go to the hardware store tomorrow and buy some hex cap screws. I've seen some people do that. I just absolutely despise flathead fasteners. The drink of the night is the new 6% alcohol Monsters. Now there's no energy in here. It's not like a Four Loko, but really good. If you don't like beer, but you want a similar vibe, do recommend. This is actually kind of horrible to work with. It's very liquidy. It is Memorial Weekend, starting tomorrow. The goal here is to be riding this before I have to go back to work on Tuesday. Some more parts showed up, but I think the engine is really the only thing I'm going to worry about. I got new forks, but you know, tertiary. All right, on it goes. I think we're reaching the end of this now. I went and bought like $50 worth of stainless hex cap screws to replace the flatheads. So let's get these case halves tightened down. Well, she is starting to look like something. I just got back from the gas station, put a gallon of gas in there with 4 capfuls of Lucas synthetic 2-stroke. Chain and sprocket are all on. For the timing, I just retarded the timing as far as I could. I think that's generally... I'm kind of at a fuzzy point with this where I might actually need to slot everything for even less timing than you can get factory, but I think I'll just run minimum factory amount of timing for now. So now I just need to put some richer jet in here, and we're going from, let's see, we had a 70 on a 2.22 emulsion tube, and now I'm going to a 74 on a 2.12 emulsion tube. And I will probably drop the jet back down after I run it for a little bit. This is just kind of break in, get it running, get it around the block a few times, see how it does, see if it makes any scary noises. Got ATF in there, type F transmission fluid, that's not leaking now, so that's great. It used to leak all over the floor. And it feels like it has compression and the clutch works, so happy days so far. Just got to get this in the carb, get the carb on, get the exhaust on, and then I think it's ready to fire. Oh, I guess I should probably do one final torque of the head bolts with a torque wrench and plug in the spark plug. I'm going to do all that off camera though, because it's not very fun to watch. Okay. Fuel on. Please work. My timing is either too far retarded, or judging by that insane amount of smoke, that emulsion tube might be a bit much. Yeah, that's drowning. Bet the plug looks super fun. Update. As I suspected, the timing is fine. Pretty much right where it should be. 2 degrees behind stock, which is pretty good. My clutch engagement, absolute dookie. I really should have read what other people were doing with this setup. It looks like, oops. I think whoever told me to use this emulsion tube was lying. I'm gonna go back to the stock emulsion tube, 42 jet or 72 jet, and I'm gonna turn these out 2 turns from flush. They're at flush right now. Sorry. All right, got them turned 4 out, or two full turns out. That's these guys here. Gonna throw this back in here before it totally burns my hand. Something else I did wrong is that this plate here, that there's 3 bolts holding on the kickstand, and there's a plate here that has notches, and those notches need to face forward, otherwise your kickstand won't fold all the way back. And you'll hit it on the ground and wonder what the heck that noise is. See, the thing is, my jetting was perfect before, so I really don't think that emulsion tube was the move. Oh. Ooh, now it's unhappy. Maybe I was wrong. quick trip around the block, inconclusive. It still feels pretty gutless, and I got a lot of weird surging and stuff, but that cleared up as I got back to the house. So I did a wide open throttle rip and then cut the ignition. Got a huge backfire, which was super fun. And we'll just see what our plug looks like. It's not terrible. Maybe a little bit on the rich side, but that's what we want. I'm starting to wonder if I didn't mess up when mixing the fuel. I might drain the tank and start from scratch, because I dumped like half a gallon in there, and then a half gallon out of another container, and one of those containers was a significantly different color from the other. So I think one of those might have been already pre-mixed, and then I added oil to the gas as if, you know, I had just added straight gas. So this might be an absurdly oil-rich mixture. I don't know, it's just still not quite what I was hoping. We'll have to get the GPS on here, or my phone rather, and see what it does, but I think I might just ride around in circles a little bit more and just kind of see, I don't know, maybe as it gets more heat in it, maybe as it wears in a little bit, it'll get better. I'm not sure, but that mixture looks okay. It smokes, I don't know, I'd say a healthy amount. It's not, you know, broken or anything. It's not making weird noises. So I think I'm just gonna putter around a little bit more with it, enjoy the afternoon, and see where that gets me. Oh no, someone stole my engine. Wait, no, I took it out because it broke. So that last clip you saw where the bike slowed down and shut off, I did not shut it off there. It just stopped running. And then when I went to go try and start it again, it was completely locked up. So I took the head and the jug off, expecting that to see that it had like overheated and the piston expanded and like welded itself to the cylinder, which is usually the failure mode for these, but that was not the case this time. The cylinder and the piston were in great shape, but even with them off, I could not turn the engine. So I drained it, removed it, got it on the bench, started taking it apart, and I found this. So this is the stator. You got all the windings here and whatnot, and the flywheel spins around this. And what I found was this piece of metal had come off of the flywheel and jammed up against the windings. And now this is actually my fault because, let's see, I don't know where it went, but I bought a 12-volt upgrade for this, and I was going to put it in, but then I decided against it. So I put this all back together, but I didn't realize that there is slots on these coils, and they can be adjusted, and you can set what's called the air gap. And since I didn't know this, I didn't set the air gap. So this was just rubbing here. You can see the witness marks. You can also see on here, oops. And yeah, as things warmed up, thermal expansion, whatnot, it caught, and it just ripped this off of the magnet. This isn't a magnet. This is just like a metal piece that I guess it kind of helps shape the magnetic field. This donut here is the actual magnet. Everyone tells me that the engine runs fine without it, in theory, so I'm just going to put the flywheel back on now that I've adjusted this correctly, and put the jug back on and go for it, I suppose. Put it back on the bike and continue tuning. So I guess we'll pick back up there. Okay, trans fluid, check. Plugged in, carb hooked up and tickled. Let's see what it does. Okay, well, it's back to running, so that's good. I'm going to do a bit of research and figure out my carb tuning, but there we go. That is the rebuild twice of my Puch E50 on my Sears Free Spirit. Hopefully that's the last time I have to do that. I've done it now, I've said it. Thanks for watching.